Welcome to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast, where you can learn and be inspired by real-world examples of how technology is transforming businesses and reshaping industries in a language everyone can understand. Here is your host, Neil C. Hughes.
Welcome back to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast. Holidays are coming, holidays are coming. Now, we do have listeners from all over the world and of multiple faiths, so this is not an episode to celebrate Christmas. Here we are in the UK on Christmas Day morning, and for those people outside of the UK, later this afternoon, people will be gathered around the TV watching the Queen's speech, where we sit there with our full bellies and maybe a little bit too much alcohol and listen to the Queen address the nation. Now, typically that speech is about events in the year and what the road ahead looks like and in this new year of opportunity and the changes ahead. Well, today, I want to do a tech version, so let's call it the Tech Blog Writer Christmas Speech. So are you sitting comfortably? Good, then I'll begin. Now, one of the biggest lessons that I've learned during 2019 is about our journey along the change curve. When technology promised to make our lives easier and automate repetitive tasks, headlines around AI and automation and RPA were often quite scary as we're all stood there at the beginning of the change curve. And that's why we saw nothing but scary headlines and news stories focusing on the rise of the machines, which of course caused denial, blaming of others, blaming ourselves for being addicted to tech and how we got here, followed by uncertainty, confusion, and doubt about the future, all classic traits of the change curve that we all go through. And I think all that is perfectly understandable, and I would say that nearly everyone listening to this podcast, and I include myself, will go through similar emotions when faced with any significant changes in our lives. But in 2020, we not only have a new year, but also a new decade. And I think we're already beginning to see acceptance, rationalisation, problem solving, and moving on. And again, yes, all traits of the change curve. And this is where things get exciting for me. Because short-sighted businesses that leverage technology to automate their processes, but then see it as a cash-saving exercise and making their people redundant, I honestly believe that those people, those businesses, are going to fall behind and actually contributing to their own downfall. However, those that understand that by automating the repetitive and the mundane tasks and letting the machines do what they're best at, we're actually creating an amazing opportunity to stop employees behaving like robots, sitting them in a corner at the same desk every day performing repetitive tasks. Let's get them back to being human and celebrate the unique difference that they can bring to the workplace. Now, as someone that has done more than a few jobs during my career where there were robotic-like processes, where I could just sit there on automatic pilot, mindlessly following a process, daring not to question the process, I think there is an argument that AI, machines, robots and automation could actually set us free from living as robots rather than being slaves to them. Because communication, content creation, creativity, the ability to put things in context, emotional competence, teaching, strategy, management, empathy, these are all just a handful of skills off the top of my head that machines cannot replicate. And we are all creators now. I mean, that smartphone in our pocket enables us to do more than previous generations could only begin to imagine. And speaking of which, I want you to imagine a new world where machines do what they do best, focusing on repetitive and mundane, repeatable tasks, while humans do what they do best. But when you put them together, when they're working seamlessly together, that's when you start to dramatically increase productivity in a yin and yang or symbiotic relationship. And I think that businesses that understand this and bring their employees along for the ride, because that is the most important part, investing in employees and helping them learn new digital skills so they can adapt in this brave new digital world and use their unique human skills, their unique experiences, rather than just sitting in a corner on autopilot. That is what I think will help businesses create that dramatic edge over their competitors, and I think it'll be much quicker than many realise. And again, businesses that add tech, add automation, but remove the human element and human employees, I think they could go the same way as Thomas Cook, Polaroid, Kodak, Blockbuster Video, Toys R Us, the list goes on. Because I honestly think that the 2020s will be all about the hybrid workforce, where the doctor with the best bedside manner will be more highly thought of and useful than the one with a photographic memory and a poor bedside manner. This is a huge shift that could change everything. But what about 2020? If we look into our immediate future, I suspect that ads might start appearing on our smart speakers in our homes. And we might get a glimpse next year of how technologies are beginning to converge and create new opportunities. And 5G and the Internet of Things are great examples. And on a darker side, I think it's going to be very interesting looking how AI cyber warfare might rear its ugly head, as both the good guys and the bad guys are using technology in this virtual game of cat and mouse. And I also think that tech ethics are also going to be a big part of conversations next year. Digital well-being, banning of loot boxes, and using tech for greater sustainability to do more with less with the shrinking resources that we have on this tiny planet. I think all those are essential conversations that we're going to be hearing more and more about. And as an internal optimist, I'm also hopeful for the next 12 months and beyond. But what are your thoughts? What are your predictions? Please email me, techblogwriter@outlook.com. Tweet me at Neil C. Hughes. Tell me what you think I got right and what you think I got wrong. This isn't the thoughts of Neil C. Hughes. I just wanted to take a few moments on Christmas Day to look back on the previous 12 months and where we're heading in the future. But I'd love to hear your insights and expertise too. Speaking of which, I have asked you all to email me repeatedly at the end of every episode of the podcast, because your opinions do mean the world to me. But I've also received a few questions over the last few days. So let's have a quick look at the emails. First of all, we have Malcolm Pollock in Boston, Massachusetts. And he emails in to say, huge congrats on breezing past 1,000 interviews this year. I don't know how you do it, but please, Neil, remember to take a break over the holidays. So first of all, thanks, Malcolm. I must admit, I've picked up a bit of a nasty pain in my right arm. Not the elbow, the other side where the arm joins. I think it might be some kind of RSI. So I'm going to try and rest it over the next few days. No rude jokes, please. Please take your mind out of the gutter. We also have an email from Callie Wright in California, and she says, huge happy Christmas all the way from the US. When is your book out? Well, a big thank you for remembering, Callie. I wasn't sure how many people remembered that. I did write a book earlier this year. It's not self-published. A publisher approached me, and I'm now waiting on their schedule. And I believe it's going to be out April, May next year. So a huge thank you for asking, Kelly. And for any of you that missed the news around that book, it's going to be on innovation and based about lessons I learned from hundreds of TED Talks that I've been watching last year. And if anyone listening to this show leaves a review of this podcast and sends me a screenshot of said review, I'll add you to my list of people who will get a free copy when it's released as a small thank you. Least I can do. And next we have Justin Williams from the UK. He says, huge thanks for all that you do, Neil, and for being the sound to my commute too. But let me ask you a question for once. What are your goals for 2020? Wow, thanks so much, Justin. I think, if truth be told, hosting a daily tech podcast, writing and covering events, probably means that I sit far too much than I should. So I have put on a little bit of timber, a little bit of weight. So predictably, I'm going to start 2020 by trying to get running again and shift some of this weight that I've accumulated. Other goals are meet more guests, meet more listeners when I attend events throughout the year. So far, I think I've got Vegas in February with Dynatrace, NLV in Chicago in March, and Adobe in Vegas in March. So I'm coming to the US the first quarter of the year, but you can keep up to speed with any events that I'm attending over on my website, techblogwriter.co.uk. And also next year, I want to get better at repurposing content and helping businesses and individuals launch their own podcasts too, along with managing their tech blogs and so much more. So I do have a lot of big plans. So it sounds like it's going to be another busy one. So thanks, Justin, for that email. I also have one final email from Luke Earnshaw in the US. I'm not sure where. He didn't say. He just says, happy holidays, Neil. Quick question. You are prolific in content creation, but tell me, how do you unwind? Well, the weird thing is, Luke, after working for the man for so long, I consider what I do now to be somewhat of a gift. And ironically, although I probably work 14 hours a day, in a strange way, it doesn't feel like work, especially in the traditional sense, because I'm learning about technology, new solutions, and having great conversations with tech leaders every single day, and also helping people create content, speaking with listeners, and also getting flown around the world to do all of the above and more. So as someone that, when he unwinds, loves listening to music, loves listening to podcasts, learning about tech, travelling, meeting new people, if I take a step back, I guess my vocation has become my vacation. And I'd love to say it was all part of some big master plan, but it all kind of happened by accident. So I am just making the most of opportunities and probably saying yes far too many times. That's a bit of a weakness of mine. So thank you so much for all your emails. And remember, if a daily tech podcast is still not enough for you guys and you want to work with me directly in 2020 and help you hit your content goals out of the park, please let me know. So whether you're a leader looking for ghostwritten thought leadership blogs, a business wanting someone to just take care of their business blogs, or equally if you just want to launch your own podcast and don't want the hassle of setting up RSS feeds or editing audio files, I can take care of it all for you. So you can find out more about that kind of stuff over on my website, techblogwriter.co.uk, or you can email me directly at techblogwriter@outlook.com. But please, feel free to keep those questions coming over to me, and if you'd like to meet me in person when I'm out at events, let's make something happen in 2020. But finally, it's time for me to raise my glass to you all, wherever you listen to this in the world, and thank you personally for making this podcast what it is. And I invite you to join me all in 2020, where we'll do it all again. How's that sound? Excellent. Well, a big thank you for listening, especially on Christmas Day. And until next time, don't be a stranger.
Thank you for listening to the Tech Talks Daily Podcast with Neil C. Hughes. Remember, technology works best when it brings people together.